Hello guys, Raven the Scottish Red Engine here, and welcome back to another video. Today I'll be reviewing you a special Plarail engine who I managed to find for a long time, Plarail Stanley. I literally love the Plarail Stanley because that painted running board he has makes a world of difference, and I like how his body looks just like the model series and CGI series. The reason why I wanted to get the Plarail Stanley was because my old Stanley, the Hit Toy Stanley, was in terrible condition. His motor still works, but the rest of him is kind of messed up. I tried to paint his body and fix all of his red linings on his boiler and cab, which doesn't look too good. I tried painting his running board in silver and it backfired, I'm afraid. The plan to paint Stanley's running board in silver sadly backfired. His boiler stripes were fading away in a red Sharpie, and all of his side details were also fading away, which literally upset me. I've been wanting to replace him and Lady for a long time, so I'm super happy that I finally got a Plarail Stanley. I will do a Tomy review of Lady in the next video, but for now, let's get into the review of my Plarail Stanley. Stanley was first released by Trackmaster Hit Toy Company in 2008. He came with two troublesome trucks, but one of them is filled with stone. Stanley was re-released by Trackmaster Hit Toy Company again with the same rolling stock and cargo. He was released in a Toys R Us release, European release, Big Friends release, and a Little Friends release. The Big Friends release features Stanley with only one truck filled with stone. The Little Friends release features Stanley released by himself with no rolling stock. Stanley was also released by Trackmaster Fisher-Price in 2009, came with a black tanker. Then in 2010, he was released with a yellow tanker. And finally, Stanley was re-released by Fisher-Price again, but this time he was released by himself with no rolling stock in a Little Friends release. Stanley was also released by Plarail and was given a painted running board, a new face, an updated body, etc., and came with a grey flatbed and a blue truck. He was then re-released by Plarail with no changes. There were also some sets that Stanley was released. The first set was Stanley released in a Plarail set called Thomas the Tank Engine Let's Play with Stanley, which comes with Stanley, stations, some track, etc. It just comes with Stanley, but no Thomas or rolling stock or anything. And finally, when Stanley was released by Hit Toy Company, he was released in a set with Thomas called Knapford Station Celebration Set. There were also variants of Stanley that were also released by Trackmaster and Hit Toy Company. In Hit Toy Company, they released an RC Stanley, which comes with a troublesome truck filled with stone and just a stock standard troublesome truck with no cargo. So Thomas, Percy, James and Molly were released by Hit Toy Company in a RC set, and Stanley was the fifth engine released by Hit Toy Company in an RC set. There were also two cancelled variants of Stanley where he was supposed to be released, but to no avail. The first one being Trackmaster RC Stanley, who came with a blue truck filled with barrels, who was planned to be released by Trackmaster, but was cancelled. And finally, when RC Spooky Stanley was planned to be released, it comes with a Stanley with green splats, and then it comes with a blue truck and some glow-in-the-dark track pieces and some barrels. RC Spooky Stanley was planned to be released just like the Fisher-Price RC Stanley by Trackmaster, but like the Fisher-Price Trackmaster Stanley released by RC, it was also cancelled. Shame. I literally love this Plarail Stanley so much because whenever I look at the Plarail Stanley on YouTube, I was like, I wish I had a Plarail Stanley in my collection, but the Hit Toys version looks a lot better. I thought the Hit Toy Company Stanley was a lot better, but when I saw the Plarail Stanley, I was like, I really want to get this Plarail engine. So I tried my very best to find a Plarail Stanley on eBay, but whenever I look at the prices, I could find that Plarail Stanley was only released by Japan, and I was very sad that I would never get a Plarail Stanley. However, my chance came sooner than expected was when I was looking for a Plarail Stanley on eBay, I saw him I saw him on eBay released. I saw a Plarail Stanley that was on sale in the UK on a good price. I was like, yes, a Plarail Stanley in the UK. This is my chance to finally get him. And when he arrived at my doorbell, I was very excited to race down the stairs and get the Plarail Stanley out of the box. And when I first got him out, I was like, yes, finally, my very own rarest engine. The first one being Oliver, the second being Stanley. This Plarail Stanley I have is in mint condition. When I first got him, he had a lot of scrapes and scratches around his running board sides. And when I first got him, not only did he have scrapes and scratches around his running board sides, but he was also missing his eyebrows. So at one point I fixed his eyebrows with a black Sharpie, and I covered his scratches with a silver paint pen and a red Sharpie. The side detail was a bit messed up, but I fixed it with a red Sharpie. And when I tested Stanley's strength, he was very weak. So I decided to make him stronger to make sure he can battle engines in World's Strongest Engine competitions, and he can haul heavy freight up hills. So yes, Plarail Stanley does have a lot of pros. There are no cons to talk about Stanley, so let's go over my conclusions. Overall, I think Plarail Stanley looks fantastic. If he was released in the UK, he would have been the most easiest engine to get for a good price. I mean, seriously, imagine if Plarail was released in the UK instead of Japan. You would seriously want to get all the Plarail engines, including this boy that I'm talking about. I mean, seriously, would you really want to get the Hit Toys Stanley instead of the Plarail Stanley? Well, my short answer is yes. Plarail Stanley looks phenomenal. I mean, Plarail Stanley looks brilliant, just like the Hit Toys Stanley that I'm looking at. I mean, the Hit Toys Stanley looks brilliant, but I prefer the Plarail version a lot better. I would recommend Stanley released by Plarail because that painted running board he has on him makes a world of difference, and his body looks a lot better than the Hit Toys version. And when Stanley was first released by Plarail, he was released with this stepsies thingies, whatever they were. The Hit Toys version of Stanley didn't have any steps near the cab. I would give Plarail Stanley a 10 out of 10. Now, let's give Stanley a run. So yeah, I'll be using this Plarail Stanley to replace my Hit Toy Stanley in my series permanently. Not temporarily, permanently. In case you're wondering what I did to this Hit Toy Stanley, you'll find out in the next video once I'm done reviewing my Tommy Lady. So Plarail Stanley's video is about to end soon, but don't worry, Tommy Lady review is going to come up very soon, as well as this new customized Stanley. But for now, that's all for today, folks. If you like my videos, including this video, make sure to give all my videos a like, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell on it. So, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all later.